Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Nick from Rise of Sports and I'm back with another video. Today, finishing out my rankings for this NFL season that's coming up. It's the NFC West today. Last year and the year before, it was known as the best division in football because it featured quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, who's still there, Russell Wilson, who's not there. You had Matthew Stafford and you had Jimmy Garoppolo. And those were, your guys. And now it's kind of not looking so good. A little interesting here. I'm not sure what to say about this division really because, well, I do know what to say. I think there's two teams that's obviously up there, and then there's two teams that are obviously not. And I think the Cardinals is one of those teams that are up in the top of the NFC rankings for sure. With their team this year, it'll be interesting because DeAndre Hopkins won't play for 6 games at least. Kyler Murray is obviously a really good quarterback. You have some decent talent on the perimeter that is not DeAndre Hopkins, and so that'll help. But with Rondale Moore, hopefully he'll break out this year. That's kind of probably the Cardinals' hope. But really, to start of the season, receivers they're not going to be great. You're not going to have a ton of help out there. James Conner is going to have to carry a lot of the load. Kyler Murray is going to have to scramble a lot probably to start the year. Defensively, I think you have a good enough team to compete. So with the Arizona Cardinals, you're going to lose DeAndre Hopkins for 6 games because of his suspension. So that's not great. But I think, you got the addition of Marquise Brown. You had to trade a first-round pick for him. A little steep for the asking price, in my opinion. I don't think he was really worth a first-round pick. But it does help that you have him because you are not going to have DeAndre Hopkins for a couple weeks, at least 6 weeks to start the season. I mean, you lost Chase Edmonds, a running back that was pretty good. You still have James Conner, who's going to have to be that lead guy this year. Chandler Jones, the very beginning of the offseason, got moved, and so that is kind of a big loss for you. I mean, one of the best defensive players in the whole league leaves your team. It's not great. And to be honest, when I'm looking at the guys they picked up, it's not that impressive to me. Like, Marquise Brown is the big one, and then you brought in Will Hernandez, who's an offensive lineman who I think is pretty good. Other than that, though, I think your losses are more than your additions, and I think Kyler Murray will step up this year, and then you got to hope that Rondale Moore takes a step up because you lose Chase Edmonds, Jordan Hicks, and Chandler Jones, and then Christian Kirk also. And I mean, with those losses, it's not great. You're gonna have to really hope that Hollywood Brown plays well. You're gonna have to hope that James Conner and Rondale Moore all play well to start the season because until DeAndre Hopkins gets back, that's gonna be kind of an issue on your offense. Hopefully, those guys can break out and play well because your defense took some major hits this year. Byron Murphy's kind of your best corner, and is he even really that good? Like, we'll see. So I think this team definitely took a step back this year. I'm going to say they probably went around 9 games this year, which might be a little low. Some of y'all might think they will do better. And, they could play better, especially when Hopkins gets back. He could really help. With the Seattle Seahawks, going to be one of the worst teams in the league. With Drew Lock, probably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now. You have DK Metcalf still. You still have Tyler Lockett. Other than that, though, your offense is not that great. Chris Carson had to retire due to neck issues, and so you brought in Kenneth Walker. Will he be that lead back right away? I think he'll be pretty good this year. I think Kenneth Walker will have a good rookie season, kind of being that guy. I mean, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks even have Dwayne Brown anymore. I think he either got traded or released. I can't really remember, but I'm pretty sure he's not there anymore. So, I mean, the Seahawks don't really have a whole lot. Jamal Adams is still there. Pete Carroll's still there for what it's worth. So I think they'll probably win 4 games. I honestly, I think they'll do better than some of the worst teams in the league. I'm not one of those guys who think they'll only win a couple games. I think they'll win 4. The reason I say that, DK Metcalf is so good. that I think DK Metcalf is one of those guys who can win you games. He also can lose you games. We've seen that. But I think Kenneth Walker is going to surprise some people. And that's kind of the main reason I have this team at 4 wins instead of 2 or 3, because I think Kenneth Walker will win you games. And I know that's a bold take, but that's kind of probably one of my boldest takes of these rankings. That I think the Seahawks at 4 wins is pretty bold because they're really bad this year without Russell Wilson. The Rams, I think, will have one of the best records in the league. I'm tempted to put them at 14 to 15 wins this year. I'm going to put them at 13. I think they'll win 13 games this year. I mean, look, you have Matthew Stafford, you had Cooper Kupp. We'll see if Odell comes back. I think there's a good chance Odell will come back. And then you have Allen Robinson, who is a great number 2 receiver who just had a bad situation in Chicago. And I think he'll be massive for you. Sony Michel is great. He played really well towards the end of last year. So you bring in Allen Robinson, like I mentioned. Bobby Wagner is a big addition I forgot about. You lose Von Miller, that hurts. And then Robert Woods leaves, but you already have Allen Robinson as a replacement. Johnny Hecker retired, Johnny Hecker was released, which was kind of surprising. But then you bring in you lose Andrew Whitworth as well. So, there's kind of every year there's people that leave, people that come. And I just think the additions are bigger because they're bigger names. Von Miller's the biggest loser. That doesn't sound right. Von Miller is the biggest guy that hurts that you lost, but Allen Robinson, Bobby Wagner are big additions, and I think with the running game being better at the end of last year, and also Cooper Kupp having a great connection with Matthew Stafford, I think that's all that matters. I mean, this team's coming off a Super Bowl win. I think they'll win 12 or 13 games this year. And then finally, the 49ers. I think they'll start Trey Lance is what it's looking like. And because of that, I think they'll win 7 games. Trey Lance starting at quarterback for right now is not going to win you too many games. I'm just going to say that. You can have all the talent in the world, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and I just don't think it matters. Yeah, those are great players, but when you have a quarterback that can't hit them, it's going to be Deebo centric. It's going to be, you're going to have to put Deebo at running back, even though they don't want to do that as much this year. Deebo's going to have to get the ball in space for it to work. And if Trey Lance can't make the throws necessary, this team's not going to be good. They'll be, because of the talent they have on their team, they will win 6 or 7 games, with Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. You have a ton of guys on defense that are really, really good. But for me, Trey Lance starting, it's going to be a rough year this year. I think next year is, the year that they'll really start to play well, because if Trey Lance can develop this year, I'm not saying Trey Lance is bad, but he just needs more time to develop. And I think if he develops this entire year, they kind of take this year off, maybe the Rams, maybe Odell leaves, maybe something doesn't work with Allen Robinson for whatever reason. Maybe a Bobby Wagner who retires, or Jalen Ramsey takes a step back. There's all these things that could happen with the Rams. And I think the Rams is your one team to beat. I don't think as good as the Cardinals are, Kyler Murray leading you is going to be just a coin flip. I'm not sure if he can lead you that far into the playoffs. And so for the 49ers, if Trey Lance can develop, I think this could be another kind of Chiefs team, honestly, is what it seems like to me with Trey Lance coming in. I think Patrick Mahomes was raw coming out of Texas Tech, and look at him now. It did not take him long to develop at all. He took a year where he sat behind Alex Smith, and you look, Trey Lance sat behind Jimmy G, and then the very next season, Patrick Mahomes won MVP. Don't think that'll happen with Trey Lance this year, but I think in the next year, I think this is kind of a Chiefs team. You have Deebo Samuel being your Tyreek Hill, and you have, I know they play differently, I'm aware of that. And then you have Kittle, who's your Travis Kelce. I think this team looks very similar to the Chiefs. So that's my opinion on this division. I think the Rams will be up there, then it will be Cardinals, 49ers, and Seahawks. So if you have any opinions, disagreements, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next Rise Up Sports.